Good evening, everyone. You're listening to another episode of the Tall and Short of It podcast. I'm your host, Justin.
And I'm Aaron. Welcome back for another spicy episode.
The spiciest of the F1 podcasting world, the spiciest League of Legends takes you've ever heard,
We're just
and
gonna sprinkle a little spice.
sprinkling the spice on the deck text. You know what it is.
That's why I wanted to get started, because I was just needed to do that.
to just rub the salt in the wound there.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah.
You said that, and I was like, I just have to.
You didn't even give it a minute. You didn't even let me forget about it and then call it back.
100% no. No marinating in the spice. Just gotta slap that shit on. Frank's Red Hot. I put that shit on everything.
We've got a spicy show for you here this evening. Aaron, what do you got for us? Give us your Rose, Thorn, and Seed.
Well, just to lead us in, we've got pretty interesting week for my Rose, Thorn, and Seed. I think I may have mentioned it last week, but someone had reached out to me about a potential job opportunity. I put in an application, reached out. Haven't heard anything back yet, but we'll see how that goes. At the same time, I wasn't fully necessarily super interested in the position, but I thought it would be good to just throw my resume in there. So that is kind of my rose. I was like, they reached out to me. It was something that I didn't even look for. So it was kind of cool that it came to me based on my previous positions, my work experience and everything. So that made me feel pretty good about where I'm at, that I'm doing a pretty decent job, to feel like I'm kind of my skills are sought after a little bit. So that was a little bit of a boost that I kind of needed this past week with getting to my Thorn. Work has been pretty brutal for the past little bit. And the only way I can explain it is by calling these things like acts of God, because we've had this ridiculous heat wave here, kind of everywhere, I feel like, in the U.S. and even up in Canada. So, there's the wildfires out in California. The smoke actually reached Philadelphia over the past couple days, to the point that, it's foggy outside when I go outside.
Oh, damn.
Just from smoke from Oregon, California, West Coast wildfires. They have drifted all the way over here.
Wow.
So between that, the heat waves that have caused me so much grief with air conditionings and things like that at work, the insane flash floods that I had a week ago at the property that I was at, and then today, as I'm finally starting to feel like I got things together, they're like, oh, another rainstorm's coming. And the rain hit, and we were getting hail the size of quarters, that big, just from everywhere, all over.
Damn.
The roof and all over my car has all these tiny little dents in it from it.
Oh,
it's
man.
Not bad. It's whatever. I'm driving that car until literally I need to send it to a junkyard. I do not plan to ever drive another car in the next 10 years probably.
Right, or do you need to sell it for top dollar?
Right. So
Gotcha.
It doesn't matter to me that the car got some little bumps and bruises, little character. But I just feel like every time I turn around, I'm trying to move in the right direction with work and kind of push things forward. I'm one step forward, two steps back with all this insane weather. I'm just treading water with all the maintenance stuff where I'm at. So that's definitely been my thorn. It's been pretty rough.
That sounds like a thorn, dude.
Yeah. Bright side, I haven't gotten cursed out again this week, so
That's good. Why do people feel the need to yell at you in person, on the internet, in games, in the subway, at the store.
Man, if I knew, I would fucking change something because
I know.
because I can't figure out what it is that like it's almost like when you have you ever heard someone say that like someone has a punchable face? Like, have you heard that before?
Maybe just like in passing, like as a joke.
Yeah, like
I don't know.
I feel like I've heard people say like,
or you have a punchable face?
No, I don't. I don't.
Punchable face.
I think it's like a similar thing. Like I don't know what it is about me, but there are people that I've heard. They're like, oh, that guy, like he just looks like he would annoy me, so I'd want to hit him. Like he's got a punchable face, like that kind of thing. I think with me, I just have like the personality of someone that people just want to yell at, and I'm not sure what it is about it that like makes it happen. But you're right, like video games, work, whatever, people just like screaming at me, and it's been interesting.
You know what I think you need?
Just curse
not one, no, not one, not two, but 3 little teardrops right on the side of your eye. So then if anybody knows, they'll be like, yes, sir. Right away, sir. I will get that right now for you, sir. And then nobody will fuck with you, right?
So I started the tattoo on my arm, and now I'm just gonna move it to the face tats.
There you go.
Hey,
there
man.
you go, dude. Or get a vertical scar that goes like down the face, and wear like a shark tooth around your neck, and be like, I took the thing off the beast that cut me. You know, dude, like just have some.
I need to figure something out because
that's what I'm saying, dude.
But the thing is, like,
you need adventure energy.
But like over in when I worked in the hotels and everything, like, and people would scream and yell at me and like be like horrible people, I just like took it because like I didn't really care what they thought. I was like,
yeah, but that's not like,
well, no,
that's not cool.
It's not cool, but like now I actually like will stick up for myself with situations and everything and be like, hey, like you're not going to talk to me that way. I have respect for myself and you're being a dickhead. So like this conversation's over. I do that now. Hasn't changed a goddamn thing. I don't know what it is, man. It's rough.
Maybe you need like a big cowboy belt, like a big belt buckle or something. Like I feel like you need something on you that says like, hey, maybe you have to wear like a "Don't Tread on Me" shirt all the time that has like the rattlesnake. You know what I mean? Like, dude, don't fuck with me.
I thought thought the arm tat would do it because I've had so many people that I'm like friends and coworkers with be like, Aaron got a fucking sleeve? Like, that's badass. And
I mean, isn't it just like a valley in a lake, dude? It's not like you're... it's not like it's like skull and crossbones.
No,
and
but when people...
the bloody skull of your mom or something.
100%. But when people hear about it, their initial reaction is like, oh, shit, Aaron got a fucking half sleeve? That's badass.
Right.
And it like catches them off guard. But with most people, just fucking nothing. Like, I don't know, they just, people just like to yell at me.
Dude, when people yell at you, you just gotta, like, you bring your sleeve up and be like, dude, haven't you seen my tattoo? Don't fuck with me. I've got a tattoo, dude.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what I need to do. Like I said, if I had figured out what it was...
I'm telling you.
I mean, I feel like that's a solution. Over the phone, I don't think that works that well.
No, it wouldn't. It would. They would like start yelling at you, and you'd have to say like, "Wait, don't you see the teardrops? I've literally killed people.
I can only video call people."
Yeah, exactly. And you like lean into the mic, like, see these there, guy?
Like, oh yeah, you really want to keep saying that shit, talking? Keep it up. See what happens. Get
Get
another
fucking
one.
yeah, dude.
That'll be
Add to
another
the
one,
count.
right?
Another one. Maybe that's what DJ Cal was talking about. He just hasn't gotten the teardrops yet.
No, maybe they're just under his well-groomed beard. Like, he's got him under there, and the beard just,
Could
like,
be.
grown over it.
Could
So,
be.
no one
I
will
think that was
know.
just his anthem for just packing on the pounds. It was like cupcake, another one. Donut, another one.
Might have
Bowl
been.
of pasta, another one.
Wouldn't I wouldn't be surprised. But hey, if he's happy, no fat shaming on this podcast.
I'm not fat shaming.
No,
at all.
not at all. That's what I'm
like,
saying.
that could
I
be what
don't
the
want
song's about.
I don't want anyone to misinterpret. Like,
Oh.
hey,
No, not at all.
if he's happy, he's happy. Doesn't matter what another one means.
This is true. This is true. Now, did you plan any seeds this week?
So still on kind of the job thing, like there's kind of a couple things. So one, I do genuinely feel like even with the crazy situations that have come up that I'm moving things in the right direction at work and getting things more organized, and like I will have the ability to set the new person up for success once the craziness subsides. Like, I think once that has passed, like, all is good in the world, and like I'll be able to like train properly and get them set up, and also like the new person is kind of with me there at work right now, so she's kind of seeing the worst possible scenarios, which I think is a good thing in general, just because it hasn't scared her off. So like that's part of my seed. The other one, work related, which is just something that is more on a fun note. We had a work softball game this past Saturday, and it was so much fun. Like, that everyone's like, it starts at 9, be there at 9. I got there at like 8:45. There were only 4 people there before me, I think. 2 people were already a beer deep by the time I got there. Like, no one else showed up till like 9:30 or 9:45, so we didn't start till 10, but it was so much fucking fun, to the point that
How many employees are there?
So our teams were like 7 versus 7, but we have a couple other people that weren't able to make it that will be able to. So, but that's the thing, is like, everyone had so much fun that we're looking to do another like softball game once it's a little cooler out, because everyone was sweating their asses off. It was like, it was a hot day. It was like close to 100 degrees by the time we ended the game and everything, but it will lead us into being able to have some more games in the future, hopefully get some full teams and everything.
Nice. Right.
But it was,
you got to spread the vibes to more employees.
It was a blast, and I'm also just happy that they did not ban me from work softball games, because I caused 2 injuries during the game. Which the one, I hit a line drive and it went right at the pitcher and nailed him in the shin. And within minutes fortunately, he was one of the people who, when I arrived 15 minutes early, was already a beer deep.
Right, so he had some anesthetic.
Well, by the time he got hit with the ball, he didn't even flinch. And within the next 2 minutes or so, with the inning ending, he had like a welt a bruise and swollen welt like the size of a softball on his shin. And then I did the same thing to a guy out in left field. I hit another line drive. He missed it with his glove, nailed him in the shin.
That's his fault. That's not on you, bro.
It's his fault, but I still somewhat caused it.
I mean, once it was in his like realm of control, that's on him.
Yeah, the pitcher one, he had no shot of reacting in time to that one. But the guy out in the field definitely did. But I was like, I got to first base. I just started joking. I'm like, you guys are going to not let me come back. like the guy who I nailed in the shin, the pitcher, like he ended up missing work on Monday because he was so sore. He was like, not just from he's about 50. So like from all the running and exercise plus getting nailed in the shin by a line drive, he ended up calling out of work. So
damn, dude.
So I'm like, I'm just glad.
Are you his boss?
Not really. I'm kind of, sort of, but not really. Like, I tell him what to do and where to go, but I'm not, like, in charge of him. Like, I'm more of I direct him to where he's needed more so than I'm, like, telling him what to do or how to do things. So, but he's a really cool dude. I bought him some Tasty Cake cupcakes like, I brought him on Monday, and because I told him, I was like, I feel so bad. And he's like, get me some Tasty Cake cupcakes, and we're good. So I brought him on Monday, and then he doesn't show up to work. And I was like, all right, I got him for Tuesday.
That's why people yell at you. That's why people think that they can just bully you. You gotta nail somebody in the shin with a softball and be like, you should have hopped over, you dumb motherfucker. And then when they call into work, you said, you should have hopped it, you dumb motherfucker. This is you're penalized, bro. This is strike number 1. Like we ain't with that pussy shit, motherfucker.
It was just so funny. Like, well, so I had talked to him previously that week about what his favorite kind of snacks were and stuff because he's honestly, with all the flooding and he's one of our guys who does painting and plastering and repairing for leaks and stuff.
Right.
And with all the flooding, he's just been absolutely swamped. And I'm like, I was talking to him and he's really busting his ass. So I'm like, yo, like, what do you like? Like, what can I do to like make this? Like, I'm like, what can I do to just like show my he's like, hey man, I really like these chocolate Tasty Cake cupcakes. I'm like, all right, got you. And then I nailed him in the shin at the softball game. I'm like, yeah, I have to go buy those cupcakes.
It sounds like you owe him 2 boxes, actually.
I might. I mean, it's a small price to pay.
Well, yeah, because the first instance was like you just wanted to do it out of the kindness of your heart, but you hadn't bought them yet, and then you nailed him. You were trying to 2 for 1. You can't 2 for 1. I think this is a gift for the nailing in the shin, and then I think you got to recoup on the first thing.
I definitely will. His
okay, all right.
His 50th birthday is coming up, and as a workplace, we're kind of so.
Are you gonna buy him his grave plot?
No, the plan though is to like each month they at the property I'm at, they'll do a birthday celebration for all the people who have birthdays that month or in the vicinity, because there's like just enough people to do that. So his birthday's coming up and it's his 50th, and they're just gonna pretend that they forgot. Like, they're gonna like do a celebration for everyone else, pretend that like they forgot his.
That's mean.
And but then they're going to like throw a like big celebration just for him instead of lumping him in with everyone else and having it be like a shared birthday when it's a 50th. That's a big birthday. So
yeah, you're like halfway through, right?
Potentially more. Who knows? But the fact that it's his 50th.
Keep buying him those donuts. That percentage is going to go way up, dude.
But they want to like surprise him with like a surprise birthday thing and everything. So for that one, maybe I'll snag him some cupcake, or who knows? Maybe if he keeps busting his ass the way he is, I'll probably have to buy him more before then. So I'll make it happen. But I think you are right. I think I do owe him a second box.
Or at least a second something.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not an advocate of gifting people sugar.
I do owe a couple people at work some coffee too. Well, Also a kindness of
Damn,
my
dude.
heart. They're people who are busting their asses, and like
Right.
I like my workplace. I like where I work, and I think the company does a good job, even though I know it might not be the permanent place for me.
Right.
But that's one thing that I have learned in my experience with like working, that I think I do a little bit more generously than my workplace, is like recognizing people who are really like out there busting their asses. And I think the workplace situation is more, they don't want people to feel like they're being left out or neglected or whatever. But like for me, I'm like, fuck it, you're working hard and you're just doing everything without complaints, without like, I never had
Right.
any issues with you, and you just like help me out when you can. Like, you deserve
And like
some
the
sort
above and
of,
beyond factor.
yeah, like the whole just never like not complaining when I ask someone to do something, especially lately with all the freak incidents we've had. Like, the people who are like, oh man, like, do I have to do this now? Can I do this tomorrow? Like, they're not getting the recognition from me. Like the people, they're like, oh yeah, I got you. Like, I'm in the middle of this thing right now. Let me wrap it up and I'll head straight there. Take
Right.
care of it. Like, I may have to push a couple of smaller priorities off my list, but like, hey, I'll do. If you are letting me know that this is a important priority thing, like, I got you. Those people, I feel like I just owe some appreciation, because they're also helping me not get screamed at by as
Right.
many people.
Right.
So they're saving me from that, and I'm giving back a little bit. So
Blow them, dude.
man, I don't think my mouth's that good.
Oh shit, that's funny.
What-
That was a good response, by the way.
but yeah, I guess my seed is that I've got some good.
You're fostering good relationships with your
Yeah.
constituents.
Yeah, and I do genuinely enjoy working at this property with these people a lot, even though it's been a pain in my ass and made my life like stressful and difficult. The fact that I like the people that I'm working with, and the gratification that I get from the fact that I know that I'm making their lives easier, and like that I'm being extremely valuable and useful to them,
Right.
makes me feel good, because I know if I was not there and someone else was, who has less experience than I do, both with that property and in that role,
Right.
they would be in a lot deeper of a hole than we already are. So not to
Right. So like,
not
I
to
got
toot
you.
my own horn, but I can tell that I'm making a genuine impact for them, and that makes me feel good. So that's what gets my heart fluttering, is making people happy. So
Interesting. So you want to give them recognition because that's just interesting. So you started that point saying you wanted to give them like recognition with, you know, cupcakes, a back scratch, whatever it is you're gonna do for
blow
them.
job, you know.
Right. But then you're saying it makes me happy to know that I'm helping them. So you're actually it's so the gratification is actually twofold, where you're happy to have competent employees and therein you're happy to do the thing back for them, so it's this like reciprocal symbiotic relationship,
and like a positive, like symbiotic
positive feedback loop.
100 exactly, like
man, that's sick.
Other people being happy makes me happy, especially when it's people that I like do care about in some way, whether it's like coworkers, relationship, like. Yeah, exactly. So it is 100%. It encourages me to do things that make them happy because that makes me happy at the same time.
Yeah.
But I'm also, that could be interpreted as I'm just doing things for other people because it makes me happy, which would be pretty, it's still not selfish because I'm still like, it's positive in general, but yeah, I do have a little feedback loop going, which
is of everybody nice. Just blowing each other.
It makes work not feel like hell. So
and that's I'm glad that you've been having that experience where you're working, because it's that is a lovely feeling, and it can be achieved. It is possible. You don't have to always hate what you're doing.
Oh, definitely. And I mean, from your experience too, I feel like you get a lot of relatively similar positive feelings for yourself when you're able to make someone feel better through the work you're doing, like with your therapy and everything. Like the fact that you're making progress with them, helping them live their lives better, like you get fulfillment and everything out of that as well. So I feel like that's kind of similar situation.
Yeah, for sure. But it's an interesting kind of selfishness. It's the kind of selfishness that's good on a bunch of different levels. It's not like selfish with an egotistical connotation. It's selfishness with an outward perspective, looking at like your family and community around you, knowing that if you're feeling good, you can put out the best vibes possible.
Oh,
right?
Absolutely. 100%.
I think that's like a good way to think about that.
Yeah. So it's that's kind of my seed, is that I'm
nice.
Yeah, just spreading positive vibes as much as I can, and it's definitely coming back a little bit as well with how things are working out. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. But to move to your Rose, Thorn, and Seed,
I'm gonna
I've just talked for who knows how long, but
no, it was actually kind of interesting, and I was able to get a bunch of good jokes in, so that's fine.
Blowjob. What?
For Rose, Thorn, and Seed, I'll start with my seed because you kind of led into it. So with one of the clients, and obviously all these people have remained nameless, but one of the clients who I've I've kind of been talking about for a couple of weeks. I use one theme or an aspect to really be talking about like this client's case, right? And kind of like what's going on. So
is this the one that you said had the reaction that was like, what was it that they like left a review saying that they were like felt
it could be life changing?
Yes, that one. Yeah.
Adjacent to that client, but not the same one.
Gotcha.
Now, this gentleman, we've been working together for a while. We're kind of making some progress, but I feel like there were some aspects that we were missing. And after like 30, 35 minutes of like talking and running through things with him before the session, we like a bunch of light bulbs were going off in my head. And so I found a physical therapy place nearby that does pelvic floor rehabilitation. So the pelvic floor is basically the musculature that surrounds your basically like your private parts, your like what makes up your groin. It's like those
Yeah.
areas, and then also like
And that's all a common. I feel like what Kegels and stuff like that are common for women who have had
right,
pregnancies and things like
right,
that. That it's
right,
like a thing to strengthen your pelvic floor and regain some of that muscular like
right.
strength and stuff like that.
Right. So, and not to like go into too much specifics, but
Right. Yeah.
there was a pelvic fracture many years ago that I believe went like untreated for the most part. There was little pain like around the time of the incident. So there
Oh.
wasn't this like large onus to get anything fixed, right?
Yeah.
So in between the human genitals and the rectum, there's the area in between known as the taint. And there are muscles that sit like above that under the skin that again would be known as the pelvic floor. And I believe in this client specifically, there are muscles within that structure inside the pelvis that have to be worked on, manipulated, stretched out in some fashion to get us that like I'm confident I'm at like 85% with this guy.
Gotcha.
I don't know the pelvic floor therapy though. I'm not qualified for that.
Right.
But so we have to figure out a strategy of okay, how do we find a place to get you what you need, but I'm not going to be there to oversee it. But I've been with him this whole time.
Right. Well, and that's also such a difficult area to treat because I feel like it is such a sensitive location
Right.
that
Right.
treating it it's difficult without having any sort of weirdness or just like uncomfortability. Like that's that's not a comfortable spot to try and work on anyone.
Nope.
Like
Nope.
and so I can imagine that just the difficulty between you already going through that process with this client and then also trying to figure out what can be done outside of your own treatment has to be difficult.
Yeah. So I guess the seed is, I think, figuring out this aspect of treatment that we were missing, and then now beginning, like, I think the last leg of the journey, which is going to be find another practitioner that can work kind of hand in hand with what we're already doing, because my protocol is working. Like that's kind of the ultimate seed is this isn't what a doctor told me the treatment should be. This isn't what some PT, some blah blah. This isn't what some schmuck with a fucking college textbook told me to do. This is my protocol on my like he is my client 100%. Everything I've done with him has been based on my questions, like it's all me is what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
So I need somebody that's going to work within the realm of what we're already doing. I don't need somebody to basically be like, oh, no. Whatever he's telling you is hogwash or whatever. And I'm not like pumping my clients full of bullshit or anything.
Yeah.
I just have a system that we're working under that's like working. So we just need to find somebody to finger his little manly bits, and I think we're going to be off to the races. So that's my seed.
That's awesome. Do you have any idea? So did you say there was a place that you had thought of that might work?
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure I found the practitioner I want him to go see too. So I'm going to talk to him in the next couple of days, and hopefully he gave them a call and talk to her.
Talk to your client or talk to the practitioner. Do you is that something? I kind of want to
talk to both.
Yeah, I was going to say, is that something that you would reach out to the practitioner and be like, "Hey, I am recommending this client to you because of XYZ. Right. This is what we've been doing. This is the program." Because, like, obviously that is kind of outside of your typical scenario. Your typical scenario is client comes to me, I work on client client feels better, client continues to come to me as I work on their problem. This is
Right.
like a kind of new scenario for you in your practice and all.
Yeah.
But like also at the same time, I feel like it would be an awesome thing for you to build that relationship with a nearby practitioner that would
They
be
can
able
refer to me. I can refer to them if that's part of the thing.
Yeah, definitely. Or just to like be able to have that connection that you're like, oh, if I do run into something like this again, I know a quality person that can genuinely help.
Right. Well, and
Or
that's
not.
another
Like,
large
it's-
aspect of it. You know,
Yeah.
is you gain a contact, right? You gain like just a sounding board or someone that you can send them to if you're running into roadblocks. Their facility looked amazing. It looks like they have all sorts of machines, like large yoga areas. They got balls, they got weights, like they got all sorts of stuff. I'm pretty confident this is like what we're looking for him.
Gotcha. That's awesome, honestly.
Yeah, dude,
'cause-
I'm so fucking stoked. I'm so fucking stoked.
Well, I want you to definitely let me know. Like, obviously,
I'm keeping everybody posted, bro.
yeah, client confidentiality and all. Like, I hope that everything works out well with like getting your client the assistance that he needs that you like. That's kind of outside your realm of practice.
It's definitely outside, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's my seed. My rows, I'll go through quickly. So today I was just I went to a game store close to where I lived, like a card store. I picked up 5 stacks of dragon sleeves. That's 500 sleeves. I sleeved up 5 new commander decks today.
Damn.
Well, it was part of the paring down process I was talking about before, where like I want all of my cards pretty much to be like in sleeves in a deck that is like playable. I can pull it out, throw it on the table, shuffle it up, and play with them. Gotcha. I don't really care too much about like, oh, I just have this, but it's just like sitting in a box. I don't care about that. I want to play with my cards. So I'm moving them all into decks. I'm finding a home for all of them. So I sleeved up 5 commander decks today. I had mono black, mono green. I did Jeskai, which is blue, white, red. Ooh. I did Sultai, which is black, blue, green. And then the last one I did was Pirate Tribal, which is black, blue, red. So there's like pirate ships. I'm making treasures. There's all sorts of like treasure map imagery. Like it's just pirates. So yeah, so that was pretty fun to do today.
Jeskai sounds very American. Blue, white, red, red, white, blue.
Well, it is. Well, that's yeah. But I like the the name Jeskai better than American.
Bad joke. I agree, though.
That'd be so funny if people started calling that color combination just like American.
America. Murica. America.
What deck are you on, dude? America. Like, what does that mean? It's just the colors I'm in, dude. But yeah, but dude, this place they've got singles out the ass, bro. Nice. So many singles. I'm like, I'm never ordering online again. Like,
hell yeah. No, that's...
give the business to the local people, because people are giving the business to me. They're not going to Hand and Stone, you know. So yeah, I'm gonna shift my card buying business to them. Great guy, he helped me out a lot. Well, not necessarily, but I mean, they are my competition.
They are,
I'm better than all you fuckers out there.
Not wrong.
Yeah, not wrong. So that's my rows for today. Finding that card store, getting some sleeves, sleeving up some cards. That was pretty fun.
Nice.
And my Thorn, I will make this short. But it is, I think, going to be an ongoing thing. Me and Aaron have been talking about it a little bit, like before and after the pod. The thorn in my side is I have to come to grips with the fact that I'm an angry motherfucker, and I have to find a better way to channel it than just summoning Mr. Hyde every now and again and just like hulking out on, you know, a bag of rice, or my lampshade or whatever it is. I've just got to I've just got to figure it out. And the one idea that keeps coming to mind is like a heavy bag of some kind. I think I need
Ooh.
I need physical exertion.
Yeah.
I need to get a bunch of this out. So
like
that's
that
kind of where my
idea.
head is, because I hate running. Like it was on my list for a while.
No,
Like
I fully understand. And
I just
most
kept
people
lying to
do.
myself. I
Most
just kept
pe-
lying to myself, bro.
mo-
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
why did you run cross country in the first place?
Because I felt like I was supposed to have extracurricular activities. I didn't feel like I was going to be like good on a team, so I just wanted to do something that was active. Running is active.
Did you
Right.
did you like the people that were surrounding you when you did it?
I think I made some solid friends doing it, and I enjoyed a significant amount of the people around me.
Boom, done.
Right.
Like that
Right.
is like that I think is the biggest pull for a ton of people, is that it's something that you can do physically, that it is an extracurricular activity that you can have. But like I was a fuck ton better at track and field than I was at cross country. I was I have a ribbon from the county meet in track and field, and I was nowhere close to that in fucking cross country. But
Okay, I gotcha.
but I liked cross country more because the people around me and the camaraderie and like those things, like I enjoyed more. But that, like, it's good to know that about yourself. Like, it's not everyone has to fucking do the same exercise to get where they want to be and everything.
Right.
I think
Right.
heavy back, like, I get what you mean with I may seem like a soft-spoken guy, but I've got some teardrops, man.
Well, dude, and that's the thing, and it comes out in such. It comes out in a way where it's clear I haven't like incorporated it all. Like
Yeah.
I can't use it as a. Okay, so in like a superhero movie or anytime somebody gets powers, right? What's like the first 3/4 of the movie is them like learning how to control it, right?
Right.
Like I feel like that's where I need to be. I need Mr. Miyagi to show me how to channel my superpower into good, right? I it feels like it could be useful if I can find a way to channel it. And the one idea that keeps coming back is combat sports. Why do I think that? Probably because I listen to Joe Rogan like once or twice a week. He always talks about how good it is for people. I feel like I've strengthened my mental game to a point where I may be ready for something like that. I want to get physically stronger. So I just think that that's going to be a good way to try and incorporate the hulky bits of myself.
Channel it a little bit, like, and
Yes.
for me, like, I have thought about that idea a number of times. I don't think it's the right fit for me, personally, with like getting into any fighting type whatever.
But you punchable face, you know?
I do have a punchable face, but that's why I probably should not get in the ring with anyone,
Dude,
because
because people would just go ham, yeah. It'd be like a cat with catnip.
exactly.
They couldn't stop.
So I'm
Damn.
probably not the right fit for me. But I 100% get
Damn.
what you mean, because I'm like, I am someone that I think I have more patience than the average person in most cases. But when I do get triggered, I guess is the easiest way. Like when I do get pushed past that like breaking point, like I kind of snap harder than most people when they get angry.
To the degree that sometimes don't you wish like you were a little less patient on a daily basis, and then
I want to break things when I get to that point, and that's when
me too.
and that is
Me too.
and
I'm serious.
I know that I'm in a bad spot when I'm just like all I can think about is like smashing things and thinking of what there is that I can break that's going to
That you wouldn't feel bad about like after.
yeah.
Right, because you just want the feeling of breaking something, but you're still conscious enough where you're like, if I snap my phone, I'm gonna be pissed.
Yeah, like we're both reasonable people, I think, but I think everyone gets that point. Some people don't control it as well as others, and I think I control mine maybe a little too much. I would love to be able to get into something that and so like I like the idea of combat sports, but I mean, man, this is my moneymaker. This is this is one of the two faces of the greatest F1 podcast on the internet. Like,
this is all we have.
If I'm coming in
black and blue all the time,
if I'm coming in with bruised up face, like brutal, man.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, but I mean in general, like I definitely get where you're coming from, but I think that something like a heavy bag definitely, or just something like that, is not a bad idea. I think that would be a valuable way to channel some of that energy, take out a bit of frustration that comes from just like living.
Yeah, just life in general.
Dealing with people. Like, I don't think anyone needs any in life needs any external situations to be actively pushing them to have to do that stuff. Like, life does that on its own and is frustrating and difficult. So, like, I think that would 100% be a valuable and kind of a good way to channel that. And who knows, like, maybe you just hit a fucking heavy bag for years and years, or maybe like it turns into something else that you want to try out and check out, or like do some little like sparring with people, or who knows. But that's
maybe I snap my leg in the ring like Conor McGregor,
Anderson Silva. Yeah, hopefully not. But at least you know that you could like kind of guide yourself in recovery.
Yeah, I'd be able to do the muscle work to get myself better.
So, but no, I think that's definitely a good thing, a positive out of your thorn of, I know that I've got this anger that builds up, and like, but you're looking for an active way to channel it, and like, yeah. So I think that's a important thing.
I haven't quite figured it out yet, and I might not find the thing by next week or the week after. But
it's a process. Life in general is a process.
Well, it's like this podcast. I was looking for like a creative outlet, right? And this is what we came up with, and this is what we're doing.
Yeah, and we had talked about this for a while, and I feel like that it's almost a similar thing. Like you think you've thought of this and like thought of like ways to figure it out, and you realize, hey, running's not your thing, but maybe something else is. And like with us, like we had talked about it, we're like, hey, we like talking to each other about different topics that we're interested in, like what can we do with this. It kind of came together in this podcast.
So we say that to say things don't always happen overnight. Sometimes there's a gestation period. It's got to bubble, boil, and toil and trouble and all that. Before it, comes to fruition. Yeah. But we've been fucking ranting for way too long.
Well, I was gonna say,
what happened this weekend in the British Grand Prix?
Bubble, toil, and trouble. Talking about frustration that came out instantly, that over time you fucking kind of digest a little bit, man. The British Grand Prix, and watching Max get knocked out of it in a collision with Lewis Hamilton on the first lap was my reaction, I think your reaction was not great. So just to get into it, so British Grand Prix, Max is up 35, 36 points, something like that on Lewis in the title fight. First lap of the race, there's a collision between the two of them going around one of the turns, and Max gets sent into the tire barrier at, I believe when he was hit, they were going about 160 miles an hour.
Right.
Devastating, dangerous, really scary moment in the race. Very glad that Max is okay. He went to the hospital to be checked out. Lewis ended up being able to finish the race. Red flag came out. He was able to start back in P2. Charles Leclerc was up in first. But a tough thing to digest, I feel like, because my instant reaction, and I still do agree with myself that Lewis was at fault in the situation, but my frustration, I think, mostly comes from the fact that Lewis is such a seasoned veteran and he sees himself losing in this title fight, and I saw it initially as more intentional than I really think it was. I think it was hard racing that kind of crossed over into an unfortunate situation. But my initial reaction was not great. Don't think that anyone did anything on purpose, but I feel like it's tough to see over all these races so far this season, Lewis kind of giving way because he knows his car's a little bit, like, maybe not quite there competitively with the Red Bull. And then when he's like, oh shit, I might actually lose this driver's championship if things get too far, all of a sudden a collision happens. I think Lewis's driving may have changed a little bit in terms of how hard he was racing in those tight scenarios. But at the same time, the FIA penalized Lewis. They did recognize that they felt he was at fault, and that is kind of that. Like, they did what they did, and everything has to move forward from there. So, what was your reaction watching the race and first lap that happens?
Leading up to it, so turns 2, 3, 4, you could see it bubbling.
Yeah.
It wasn't just at Cops that Lewis was putting pressure on Max. And to your point, you said, I don't think Lewis did it intentionally. Neither do I.
No, no one wants to, right. I think
no one's headhunting anybody.
Especially in their sport. They see the danger in their sport, especially after some of the situations that have been in recent memory with drivers. I don't think anyone would ever intentionally put someone in or try to injure someone.
No, but was there over-bubbled aggression and peak stubbornness from both drivers? Yeah.
100%.
To the degree that it created an environment, my life is movie references, but it makes me think of The Dark Knight, where Heath Ledger's hanging upside down and he says, this is what happens when an unstoppable force meets an immovable object. It kind of felt throughout that whole from the jump, it felt like it was gonna happen. They touched wheels on the straight, like it, and both drivers unfortunately are of the mind, and like you were saying, or I think you were alluding to a little bit of this, some amount of competitive desperation from Lewis, where they didn't necessarily care that they were in each other's like racing line. Lewis didn't care that he was a little bit off the apex. Max didn't care when, like, I don't know how much you watch the tape, but from Max's onboard, like you can see his head in the mirror. He turns in, and then he goes right back in as though, oh, Lewis will back off. Like, they both were operating under the pretense that the other was going to back off. And it ended with Max in the wall.
Right. And I think, and I agree, like it was bubbling up in those initial turns and everything. It was tight racing, and it's frustrating, I think, not just as a Max and Red Bull fan, I think as a racing fan, to not get to see them fight that out longer in the race. But also, I think that, like they were both being more aggressive than usual, not taking the care, and it's easy to see Max get completely knocked out and see Lewis win the race.
That's the toughest thing. It's that's the most confusing thing, is that it, like, obviously Lewis was quite lucky. He easily could have just popped his tire, spun, followed Max right into the wall. But just what blows my mind is he just gets to go get full points, win the race.
It feels like there's no repercussion for the fact that the incident happened, even though he did, honestly and legitimately, he raced his ass off to be able to win that race. Like, it was that was not an easy coast to victory fucking Mercedes race.
No, he had to hammer in lap times like nothing else to catch up to Charles,
and watch his tires and do all those things and deal with the penalty. And so there's no
pause on the penalty just for a second, because I think that's another important part. Is I'm not sure. And to the point of repercussions, this is the one thing that I thought of. I don't know if a 10-second penalty for that, which I think what they cited was being off of the apex and still trying to keep the line, is what they gave him the 10 seconds for. But at the same time, they gave out 10 seconds for track limits as well. So I don't see why those are equated. Maybe should one have been a 5-second and his stay a 10-second? Should his have been a 15 if the track limits is a 10? Well, I don't know what the things are. It just seems like just a whirlwind of perfect scenarios for Lewis to be able to come back and get P1 in that race. Yeah. To the degree that I have to say, props to him, man. Props to him. It goes to show why he has so many championships, so many wins, so many pole positions. Yeah. Because he just wins, miraculously wins.
And but at this point, and so no matter how frustrated I am that Max got knocked out, because I would have loved to see 52 fucking laps of battling back and forth with clean racing and seeing driver tire strategies, all those things, and seeing how that worked out. Lewis raced phenomenally, and to the point that Mercedes came out and said that if the race had not been red flagged, Lewis would have had a DNF as well. because
yeah.
but that's the way it goes sometimes, and it does feel like it always kind of does fall in Lewis's favor, but at the same time, I feel like
it just as easily could have been his tire that popped.
It's so there's a saying in basketball where you talk about the like you get a shooter's bounce or shooter's roll off the rim. And it's like good shooters, the rim like of the basketball hoop, like hey man, like if I'm out there shooting, if I hit the rim, it's fucking sending it off into God's country. But if someone's a good shooter who's knocking down shots and they miss a shot, somehow it's going to rattle around the rim, go off the backboard, and drop through the hoop for points. And so with, like, Lewis, he's a phenomenal driver. There's absolutely no discussion to say he's not. But sometimes when you're that good and things happen, you are good enough to be able to make it through it and just continue on and forge forward. So, like, it fucking blows that Max got knocked out because it does feel a bit unfair that he ended his race in the first lap and Lewis was able to fight back and claw his way to get that win. But at the same time, like, I can't take anything away from Lewis's drive other than that first part that's like, he had to do anything and everything he could to get that win.
Yeah.
And he, like, after that point with the penalty, I do think, I agree with you though that the penalties are a tough point with the FIA to kind of like,
and that's not like a condemnation. I'm not saying shoulda, coulda, woulda, because I don't know. I don't have enough historical data to like be able to weigh these things.
Well, like, you see things like, okay, a couple of weeks ago when Kimi Räikkönen Seb Vettel and Kimi Räikkönen got into their tangle at the end of the race.
Right.
20-second penalty. I don't remember who caused. I think it was Kimi knocked out Seb, and it was 20-second penalty when the race was over.
Right. So, like, why isn't it 25 seconds when it's at the start of a race? Like, yeah, it just seems like super inconsistent, man.
It is, and also at the same time, when we had the Styrian and then the Austrian Grand Prix. Like, it was extremely inconsistent with the FIA's rulings on both of those races as well in terms of penalties and things like that for track limit. Like the first race, nothing. Second race, they're like, fucking make it rain with these penalties. Like, what? It is extremely inconsistent, and so that's something I would like to see more of. I understand that racing is difficult because there's so much subjectivity to what you're seeing. It is very hard to make those decisions like, hey, was he in the racing line? Was he committed? Did he move? Like, all those different things.
Right.
But there's got to be a little more consistency, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there just has to be. Otherwise, people, like, if Lewis wins this Drivers' Championship by less than 25 points, everyone's going to be pointing at this race and being like, the FIA fucked up, Lewis should have been disqualified. Helmut Marko, Red Bull's chief advisor, I think is his title, was calling for Lewis to be suspended for a race. Like, there are, like, if that happens, I hope it doesn't come down to that, but if it does, there is so much controversy, and that is not what anyone wants. Like, people want to be able to say, hey, I won fair and square. This is how it is. Like, I was able to compete better. And the loser, I don't think wants to be, like, trying to make excuse. Like, they're such competitive people. They're the top 20 drivers in the world in most people's eyes. No one wants to come in second and be like, well, what if? Like, that just makes you look like a sore fucking loser. Like, I just want everything to be judged as fairly as possible, and I do somewhat disagree with the FIA's decision on that penalty. Lots of people, I think it could have been 10-second stop and go. I think it could have been a fucking 20-second penalty. Like, it's a tough decision, and I just hope that that decision doesn't end up changing the course of history in this title fight.
Yeah. And only, this is such a shitty thing, but only time will tell. But yeah, that's kind of where I was at, where I'm thinking that this hopefully is not one of the like big talking points in the championship, and that there's not like an asterisk next to like this win for Lewis or whatever, where it's like, oh well, you won, but yeah, you had to take Max out in a race to do it.
Right. Well, and the other things, like, I hate that has also taken the spotlight of this entire weekend as well, because we had so many things that we could have been able to discuss this weekend more in depth. We had the first sprint race qualifying. Mm-hmm. Like, we had our qualifying, Lewis first, Max second, Valtteri third, Charles in fucking fourth, Ferrari being able to come back and look really good at Silverstone. The sprint qualifying race, really solid 17-lap race. Max being able to pull it out, get past Lewis and everything. Like, there are so many things, and the sprint qualifying, I think, went much better than
I think they thought it was going to.
Right. I thought it went phenomenally.
Yeah, I thought it was awesome.
It was so fucking good.
Mm-hmm.
And I think so many people were unsure about it, and I think that highlighted the potential for it, but then at the same time, it's just completely overshadowed by that situation during the race.
What I was gonna say about the sprint qualifying was with regard to the Lewis and Max thing, was there was this narrative in the analysis of the incident where they were saying that, oh, Lewis knew he had to get in front of Max in that first lap because of how the sprint went, and Red Bull's faster in a straight line, and Lewis had to get him on that opening lap or else he was never going to get, like, it almost felt like there was this, like, there were these weird justifications for the moves that the racers made on the first lap. And what kind of really bothers me about that is, like, that's all just narrative painting. Like, you're just intimating what these drivers would have been thinking at 200 miles an hour in the first 10 seconds of a race. Like, you're crazy if you actually believe Max was going into, or Lewis was going into Cops thinking, like, well, this is my only chance because of qualifying, and I'm just gonna take, like, none of that is going through his head.
Well,
so
yeah. 100%.
So I kind of want to condemn the broadcast and the analysis of this thing, where I'm kind of touching on one of your points, where, like, you want it to be good, clean racing, no asterisks, where, like, it felt like just a touch of maybe nepotism is the right word, or like favoritism for Lewis, where they're like, oh, well, he had to race that hard for the chance. Like, it's almost like they were justifying that kind of stubbornness on the track for, like, well, this is what the fans want. They want hard racing. It's like, no, I'd rather have Lewis see that and have all of the racers finish rather than get hard racing and have the championship contender in the wall. And I will say there were like well-respected pundits that were saying this shit.
Yeah.
Like part of the F1 broadcast, bro.
Yeah.
Like what?
And like I am 100% for. I would have rather had 51 more laps of fucking good ass racing. And yeah, I agree. Like it's ridiculous how they the narrative that they put on it, and it's like, no, like we fucking saw what Lewis did for the rest of the race. Who knows what could have happened if that didn't happen at the start of the race? And maybe he manages his tires better and he fucking runs Max down.
Exactly.
Who fucking knows?
Exactly.
But like, you can't tell based on fucking 3/4 of a lap of
exactly.
Like, that's the way it is. And so I completely agree. I think that
they're pretending like the race was going to be decided on that corner. And it's like, can we not pretend this, please?
We fucking saw
Checo go 21-2 or 21-1 or whatever. Like, can we not pretend that like miraculous things don't happen?
We saw that happen. We also saw Lando Norris lose fucking 4 seconds on Valtteri Bottas because of his left front tire not being able to get screwed on properly, or right front tire, whichever one it was. Like, there are things that happen in the race that are outside of the driver's control that change the course of the race, and that happens. And so the narrative that, oh, he had to be aggressive, like, it's frustrating, and at the same time it's also kind of disingenuous to the fact that Max was fucking put into a wall at 160 miles an hour, where he fortunately was able to get out of his car, go to the hospital, be checked out to make sure he was good, and be all right. Like, that was like an afterthought, I feel like, for a lot of people. They were so focused on that.
Absolving Lewis, bro.
Absolving Lewis, that brief interaction. Oh, and I mean,
I'm not even saying it's all Lewis's fault. I think they're both equally at fault. I think it was like I think it was just stupid aggression from both of them. But the narrative painted, it was like they were like sheltering Lewis from like, oh no, it can't be him. And like, it can be. It was both of them.
Like I said, fucking Kimi crashed out Seb at the end of a race and gets a 20-second penalty.
Right.
Like, for literally crashing him out after the race had ended.
When the points would have already been decided.
And neither of them were in the points.
Right.
Like,
so why a 10-second penalty when like a whole championship rests on could possibly rest on your decision?
Right.
Yeah, it just seems kind of crazy. But bouncing back to the point that you made that was steering this conversation forward was, plenty of storylines that came out of the weekend that wasn't just this tight racing going into cops. The one point that I really wanted to mention was shout out McLaren, Lando Norris, Daniel Ricciardo. They had such a good weekend, especially for a driver that hasn't been qualifying that well. Those rough qualifiers turning into mediocre races, not being where he wants to be. Putting both of the McLarens 4 and 5, like racing with each other, not getting into anything dirty. Any complications, I should say, not dirty complications. Well, it was a clean 100%. Race from McLaren.
There are a lot of positive things out of this. Them finishing both that high, makes me want to do a fucking shoey for Danny Ricks. Like, I'm fucking pumped that he looked so good during this. Lando, of course, man, fucking, it's Lando. Lando this year has been a different breed. No knock on McLaren, they're putting a really good car out there. But if Lando was in the Red Bull, if Lando was in a McLaren or a Mercedes,
Oh,
Like,
that's GG, son.
he's easily competing for that title for the drivers
Mm-hmm.
championship. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's how well Lando has been driving. Like, he
It
is
appears anyway, right?
he has been driving that McLaren as well as I think that car can be driven. Still, only one race this season. What is this? The 10th race of the season.
Yeah.
10th race of the season. He has had one time he's finished outside of the top 5. Like, that's just pretty incredible.
Yeah, it's pretty bonkers.
The other huge storyline, Ferrari had a
Mm-hmm.
phenomenal fucking race as well. And, like,
Mm-hmm.
even for their battle with McLaren for that best of the rest, that third spot in the constructors, like, fucking Leclerc, I thought he was going to win that race. I did not think Lewis was going to catch him because we got to laps fucking 44, 45, 46, and Lewis is staying stagnant about 8 seconds back. He was not gaining anything on Leclerc. And then just those last 7, 8 laps, he just was reeling it, like the tires fell off for the Ferrari, and he was just reeling him in a second and a half at a time to the point. Like, I, for a while, was like, Leclerc's going to win by 5 seconds. That's legitimately what I thought was going to happen because of how well he was racing, how well his tires were working, and they just fell off late, and that happens. But man, Ferrari, Leclerc looked so good. Carlos Sainz not far behind Danny Ricks in finishing in P6. Like, I'm excited for that competition too. The third place for the constructors. I mean, we're looking at it. We've got Ferrari at 148 and McLaren at 163. They're 15 points apart in the constructors right now.
Well, and what's crazy is both drivers from both teams are in the points like regularly, so they're like the amounts that they're both jumping up are like quite large at a time.
Oh, absolutely. And it's so exciting to see that. And so like that's another storyline that I feel like was kind of overshadowed. Like Leclerc, he said in his interview that he's excited for not only just like the rest of the season with how his car's running, but also the sprint races because he looked really good and felt really comfortable in that format and everything. Like he came out and was talking about that, and that's exciting for those races. I mean, we've got all these things in the constructors. Red Bull finished out of the points with both drivers, with Max DNFing, Sergio starting P20 and trying to fight his way up. That was frustrating to watch for me, but I kind of see why Red Bull had to do what they did and attempted to do what they did, but like it was a 40-point swing in Mercedes' favor in the constructors, and so now it's a 4-point difference.
Yeah, bad day for Red Bull, man.
Terrible day for Red
bad
Bull.
day.
But like, what were your thoughts on that with Sergio? Because I think my frustration was every time I felt like he got up there to be able to potentially be in the points, he got stuck and kind of stagnated. And I think Sergio's a great driver. I think he has driven really well and deserves that Red Bull second seat. But like, he got stuck behind Lance. He was in P11. Lance was in P10. He was stuck behind Lance for like 10 fucking laps.
Yeah.
He had the DRS and Lance had the DRS, and neither of them could get past the person in front of them. It was a little weird train, and no one could get past, I think it was Fernando at the time. So that...
it's tough to say, like, you you want to believe that the drivers are going to be able to do that every weekend, like where Checo, ran up through the field, and Alonso did it during the sprint where he just made up so many places. But there's got to be something about these tracks where some make them easier to overtake than others. I know when they were doing the track walk, there were only, if I remember correctly, I think there were only 2 or 3 places that they talked about overtake positioning. So maybe that factors into it too. Maybe no matter how good you are of a driver, like maybe you just can't pass on the track. Like, I don't know if those kind of things get bolted in.
It definitely does come into play, but at the same time, the speed of the Red Bull and everything I just have trouble when, and I don't know if it's just my experience and knowledge of F1, but like the Red Bull car, you see Max being able to put in these lap times when he's at the front, and it is definitely, you've got clean air, you've got these different situations as being in traffic, but you see these drivers, some of them being able to, I mean, Lewis did it too. He's able to like zoom up and pass people and get through traffic and everything relatively easily compared to being driving in free air and open air. And you see that happen, but then when you see a driver just get stuck who has a clearly better car, like the Red Bull is better in probably every aspect than the Aston Martin.
Right. But then, okay, so maybe that's like just thinking a little generally. Like maybe there's something going on that race day. Like we know it was hot. Maybe it was cooking through the tires a little bit more. If you're in a DRS train, there's turbulent air all around you.
Right. Like, and so that's my like lack of knowledge of the actual that side of the racing. But it was
right.
It was frustrating for me to see Sergio fight his way up past like certain drivers. Like he was able to get past the Haas's no problem. He was able to get past the Williams without problem, the Alfa Romeos, and then he gets stuck behind Lance Stroll and is just like, he's like,
I mean, they're allowed to defend, it's not
and it wasn't even, but like at the same time, you see other drivers without DRS getting the slipstream, getting past people and things like that. When just based on the fact that their car is more aerodynamic, has a better engine, like XYZ, and then a car that clearly has better aero, better engine, better XYZ, is not able to do the same thing. So, and not that I'm not trying to shit on Sergio at all, but it was disappointing to see, especially with Max out of the race. And I think also in the back of my mind, knowing that Sergio has gone from P20 to P1.
Right, so like you think it's possible, right? You think like, when did it start? When did it start?
Because every time he was like, gets up to P11, and then he pits and drops back to P15. Then he's like up to like P8, and then he like pits for softs at the end of the, like a weird pit stop or something like that at the end of the race. I was like, what the fuck, man? Like, like come on. But yeah, bad day for Red Bull. But I'm looking forward to the next race, honestly. I'm hoping that Max is feeling 100% because I really want to see this like title fight for both the constructors and drivers kind of continue. And Sergio did definitely get handicapped a bit with his starting P20 with the starting from the pit lane and the changes to the car that had to be made. Like he was 100% in a rough spot. So like I said, I can't knock him. It was just difficult to watch, especially with seeing Lewis P1 and Valtteri P3. Like,
Right.
that made it tough.
It's just like, yeah, it was just a feels bad day if you weren't a Mercedes fan. That's for sure.
100%. And I know there was, so talk a little bit more, because I saw conversation about it everywhere. But I didn't actually ever see anything with the Lewis situation on social media. So can you like bring me into that a little bit? Because Matt Gallagher talked about it. I saw it in your points for the podcast. I've seen it elsewhere. I never actually saw anything
Right.
that was directed at Lewis in the sense that you guys did.
So what he's referring to is there's some racist comments directed at Lewis in the guise of being analysis of the scenario. Certain individuals chalking it up to Lewis's blackness, that these things happened, or that him as an individual would be inclined to make these acts of aggression, or whatever these assumptions would be,
which
right?
are absolutely, like, just based on how you phrase that, that is one of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard. Like,
yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, it's just crazy talk.
yeah.
And the reason my point in the note is written the way it is it made me kind of hard stop from the way that I had the race framed. Like, just having watched it, spending a couple hours away, and then coming back, checking some things on Reddit, seeing some Twitter posts, this and that, and the amount of vitriol and hatred towards Lewis, as though he did it on purpose and it was a tactical move, and people saying that it is of the kind of behavior to be expected of somebody who is of his nationality and color and this and that.
Yeah.
And it was all just really ridiculous, to the degree that I'm appalled that I'm appalled that the attitude floor of people who enjoy this sport is so low that is the direction of the conversation. And I know social
plainly,
media.
That's fucking disappointing.
Well, it is. It is.
That's fucking disappointing.
And I'm not trying to beat around the bush or anything.
No,
I'm just
you're
trying
not.
I'm just trying to be very clear in, like,
yeah. No, 100%.
what's going on. And so, yeah, it's like, I don't see how that has anything to do. I don't see how the color of his skin has anything to do with his racing skill, with what happened. It was purely, like, the same thing would have happened if they were both purple. The same thing would have happened if he was blue and she was red, and it doesn't matter.
No,
it just doesn't matter.
That is, I'm glad
it's ridiculous, bro.
I'm glad I didn't see that stuff, because, like, even somewhat, like, yeah, I feel like Lewis is at fault. Yeah, I feel like Max got the raw end of the deal with that fucking collision. Of course, 100%. I
that's
would
where
have
it stops.
Yeah, that's where it stops.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there's nothing that could ever make me think that anything that happened in that situation had anything to do with anything other than these two being extremely good competitive drivers that
Yeah,
got
they're just
into a
racers.
situation.
They're just people.
They're fucking competitive. Like, that's what you get when you get the 20 best drivers in the world on a grid. Like, they're gonna race each other hard. And so I agree. That's really disappointing to see what the floor is in terms of the quality of fans and people who are watching, because there is so much that you can look at that has absolutely nothing to do with that. So that's really disappointing.
Yeah.
So
yeah, very much so. And obviously, like, let it be known that, these people are a small vocal, like,
it's usually
percentage,
the
right?
case.
They're
It's
definitely in
usually
the
the case with
minority.
yeah. That's usually the case with anyone. I feel like, at least in this day and age, that is making statements like that, which I'm very, very happy about. But it is still so disappointing and, like, frustrating to see, because I don't want the racing to be tainted by the unnecessary aggression, and I want to see that happen. I even more want to see everyone just be, like, looked at and be like, yeah, like, that's just, like, two people fucking racing hard, and that's what caused it. Like, there's nothing,
Right.
it's just frustrating. And so, and frustrating and disappointing. So,
And I'll say this, like, and this may be an odd way to think about it, or like a weird way to describe it, but, like, hear me out. It's fucking boring, dude. It's a
shit perspective.
Exactly.
It is a dog shit perspective.
There's no, like, regardless of hate, regardless of vitriol, regardless of any of that, it's
shallow.
It's just empty calories, bro. It's useless.
Fuck yeah.
It's useless.
No,
so,
it is.
But
I am at the same time very glad to see that all the people that did see it, that are fucking valuable in my eyes in terms of their perspective, like, there's always going to be trolls online, but, like, the people that are actually genuinely worth listening to condemning that kind of thing consistently across the board, I was really happy to see. Even though, with how disappointed I was to hear that, because I didn't, like I said, didn't see anything personally with, like, comments and stuff, but the fact that it happened and that the people that I look to for intelligent content and everything were immediately condemning it, I was like, oh, dope. Like, fuck those people who are saying that shit.
Right.
So,
and we're just doing our part to say, like, hey, man, we're not with that, man.
Yeah, like, fuck that. Just watch people race to race. You want the best people to be, like we've talked about in so many episodes of this podcast. Our favorite thing is watching the people who are the best in the world at what they do.
Yeah,
compete
I don't care what they look
level.
like.
That, like, I don't care if you're red, blue, purple, fucking green. That's probably a cliche to say it that way, but, like, fuck it. Like, I want to see the best people at what they do compete, and that is fun to watch. So, super glad that Max is okay. Really awesome, honestly, that Lewis raced the way he did and was able to win that race, because that was, from where he was at with the penalty, whatever you think of it, phenomenal drive from that point forward. You can't knock anything about that, but I am 100% pumped for the next race. Like, I can't wait to see what happens for the rest of the season.
So, coming up next, we have Hungary, which is August 1st, which is not this weekend, but it would be the following. And then we have my favorite track. We have the Belgian Grand Prix, which is at the end of August. So we'll have one race here in not this coming weekend, but the following, and then we'll have a little bit of a break until the end of August for the Belgian Grand Prix, which I believe they define as the summer break at the end of August.
It is, yeah. So that's usually when Red Bull drops their second driver down to AlphaTauri and brings a new guy up. So
Right.
We'll see what happens. But nonetheless, some good racing coming up. Looking forward to it, and there's a whole fucking lot of season left to go.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for picking up my train of thought. I totally lost it.
No, 100%. Like, it's going to be a really good season. Do we have any other, like, back-to-back weekends?
I'm not sure. I haven't really looked ahead in the season at like what the specific dates are.
We do, actually. So I just pulled up the schedule. So we've got Belgian Grand Prix end of August, last weekend of August. The next weekend we have the Dutch Grand Prix, which is going to be fucking lit for Max.
Yep.
Then right after, a week after that, we have the Italian Grand Prix.
Oh, wow.
So that's another quick one. Then we'll have another back-to-back with the Russian Grand Prix, followed by the Turkish Grand Prix, followed by the Japanese Grand Prix, which will be
Suzuka.
At Suzuka.
Nice.
Going from end of September into the beginning of October. And then back-to-backs between United States and Mexico. Lots of really, really good fucking races coming up. So
yeah, like 12 or 13 more races to go.
Yeah, a lot of
season.
So actually, it looks like there will be 3 different points in the next few stretches that's back, like triple headers going through.
Oh, wow. God damn. Busy weeks, busy weekends.
Yeah, so I'm pumped about that because that's going to be some good fucking racing, a lot of good fun. Looking forward to it very much. So, But
what League of Legends games were you watching this weekend, good sir?
About to say, take us into it. So I know for the first match of the week, mine on Friday was the Immortals versus Cloud9. It's the one that I like. I did watch a little bit more, but it's the one I wanted to focus on the most because it showed, I feel like, some of the flaws in North America in terms of closing out games and being able to like find your win conditions. Because, I mean, fudge on Viego. Also, Viego's fucking broken. We have talked about it. Viego and Gwen are broken, especially when together. But fudge on Viego was an absolute monster. Cloud9 was winning that game so thoroughly, controlling objectives with the Callista, like just really on top of everything, and they just were not able to find their win conditions and close out the game, lose a fight towards the end, and lose the game off of it. I was really honestly just intrigued to see, because Cloud9 I felt like had one of the easier schedules coming into the end of the split, or this half of the season, whatever you want to call it.
I think they're calling it a split. We can call it a split.
I'll call it a split. So the C9 had one of the easier schedules coming up to this section of the split, and I really felt like they needed to go 3-0 this week, and losing to IMT was it puts them in a tougher spot than you would hope if you are a Cloud9 fan.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
that was the main takeaway, and it also is concerning to me just in a more general perspective for the international tournaments. I feel like that is one of the things that does separate the good teams from the bad teams in international competition. If Cloud9 makes it there, the fact that they have this inability to close out against a much weaker team, like IMT is currently 7th in the standings, where Cloud9 is tied for 3rd. They had to lead the whole game. They had the uh, Dragon Soul. They had both Barons, unable to close out. That's going to be concerning when it comes to international competition when you are looking at the best teams in the world.
Yeah, definitely.
So that was one of the main points that I took away from that. Like, one, Fudge looks like a goddamn beast. Like, he's playing like an animal, but like they just can't. They're struggling with things that they should not be struggling with. And as a C9 fan, I'm hoping they kind of pull it together, but it seems to be a more consistent issue week after week that they're just not beating the teams that they should. A little concerning. So,
Well, and I think we see the same issue with some of the other teams as well, where like so many games are just being decided at these like 30-minute team fights where the team that's ahead just mispositions, they lose, and then they get pushed down.
yep.
And I think this is like a part of where you were going, where it seems like they're not either getting to this point in practice, or their practice at these points in the game is really poor. But yeah, I think it speaks to a more systemic issue of the players of the teams. Maybe they don't understand the meta that well. Maybe they don't understand what they're supposed to be doing at that point in the game, where they think they're supposed to be focusing on the Cloud Soul, where actually they should be focusing on like 35-minute Baron control or whatever it is. Like, I don't know, but it just seems like teams get stuck in this mid and late game, they miss position, and then they lose their advantage. We've seen it happen a couple of times, and especially with some of the top teams, like we watched TSM do it a couple of times. So yeah, it is a bit concerning that the teams that we're going to be looking forward to take boards off of the top teams going into the next international competition, they're not going to be there, because if they're the type of team that needs a lead at 10 minutes, or they just flat lose, we have no hope, and we will be solidified as just spaghetti to your region. So yeah, I think something's got to give with these teams just focusing up and making a call in the late game, or whatever it is that they got to do. But yeah, it seems like a bit of dirtling is a problem.
100%. I'm pretty certain, and I don't remember which match it was for C9, but I am fairly certain that there was one game that they had where Fudge was. Let me see which one it was.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was last week where he was really ahead and they lost the game as well.
No, they didn't lose. I don't believe they lost it, but I think it was the Cloud9 Golden Guardians game where Fudge was on Gwen, and the lead he had tied the biggest lead that a top like at 10 minutes. Gold, yeah, it was the Cloud9 versus Golden Guardians on Sunday, where he tied the largest lead that a top laner has had in gold per 10 or gold at 10 minutes. and it still took them fucking minute to close that game out. Like he was up. He finished
I
10-1.
understand.
He finished 10-1 and 7 on Gwen, but he had the largest lead of any top laner at the 10-minute point in LCS history.
Wow.
And Cloud9 still took a bit to close that game out. Like, those are things that are 100% concerning when you're getting into those like international games and stuff like that as you move
You should be able
forward.
to just end the game with a 7-1 Gwen or whatever.
Yeah, like it's concerning to see that.
Yeah.
To see
Okay,
you
I see what
running
you're
into
saying.
issues. So
Yeah, my bad. I'm not sure what I was. I'm not sure what game I would have been thinking about, but yeah, I kind of.
no, it's
I see what you're saying though.
yeah, like it's a problem for NA in general if we're able to get these leads on other lanes and are not able to like utilize that properly to close
Right.
out games or like push for advantages. But how about your first game of the week on Friday? That was
Yeah, the game that I wanted to talk about from Friday was FlyQuest versus TSM. And this was kind of another one of those examples where from TSM we saw good bans. I'm pretty sure they did. I'm pretty sure they banned. I think they banned the Gwen and Viego, or they banned like the Tom Kench or something. But I thought that the pick and ban was really good from TSM and FlyQuest. It seemed like they kind of both got what they wanted. I always enjoy seeing the Rakan and Zaya. And then, interestingly enough, we have solid plays from TSM all throughout the early and mid game. And then, just like in the Cloud9 game, one team fight at the end of it, and FlyQuest was able to come around and win the game. But what I think is interesting about that is, and the note that I have here is, FlyQuest had a strong mid game where they weren't bleeding out, they weren't like getting picked off. There were a couple of deaths, but a lot of them happened towards the end of the game, where FlyQuest kept the goal deficit about even, which speaks to their strength, like when playing from behind. They weren't like caught out of position or anything like that. So I just thought that was an interesting game, and also a game that goes to your point of teams having trouble knowing what to do in the late game with a big lead.
well, and definitely with that, like you are correct. So TSM did ban out the Viego and the Gwen.
That's
So
right.
they banned out both. They also had the global ultimate potential with the Nocturne and the Rise ultimates. And I think that the fact that FlyQuest was able to put together, honestly, a really phenomenal team fighting comp and force those kind of fights is really impressive from a team that is like kind of lower tier in the LCS. I mean, the fact
Well,
that
their record is lower tier, and the other roster was lower tier. These players are playing out of their minds.
that's true. You are right in that aspect. Yeah,
Yeah,
because
and that's why I keep
I forget about that because I'm
exactly.
looking
That's what's so
like
interesting about it.
I'm sitting here looking at it, and yeah, no, you're 100% right. Like the Zyrakan, the LeBlanc, the Lee Sin, the Irelia, that is a full on dive comp. I'm going to get in your face and just go ham kind of comp.
Oh, yeah.
And the fact that they were able to pull that off against a global comp, especially with the Nocturne top lane, the fact that that can just shut down so much aggression just by pressing the R button without even attacking is impressive. So yeah, like
Well, it's
FlyQuest,
powerful too.
it is, and FlyQuest Academy, I'm really impressed with how they've performed, and I am hoping. I really need to look at what the LCS playoffs look like, because if it's top 8 like it previously has been, then FlyQuest could really shake that up and change the course of what happens with that, be
Yeah,
based on
definitely.
how their academy roster is performing. Um,
I really think they could take like big games off the top teams. I think they are a top team right now.
yeah, based on how
Yeah.
they're playing, like, they look phenomenal. But
What was your day 2 game?
getting into day 2, I had the Liquid versus 100 Thieves game, which I believe was the same game as you.
Yippers. What were
So,
your takeaways?
um, honestly, my biggest takeaways, I was just very impressed with how, and this is something that I'm getting more comfortable seeing with 100 Thieves, just looks so controlled and confident and in the lead of their matches. Like, Liquid was getting choked out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think a lot of
They
that has to do with closer.
It does. Closer looks so good in the jungle right now, but also Abadaga looks unreal. Like, he was a
Yeah.
mid tier. He was a middling LEC mid laner, but
Mm-hmm.
he fits so fucking well into this 100 Thieves team. Like,
Mm-hmm.
he has found his spot, and all of them seem to really have found a comfortability in that team. Like, where Someday's the only one who fucking died on his team that game.
He died 5 times, but he
He died.
saved everybody else from
He's the
dying.
only He died 5 times, but he's the only person to die on his team that game, and they
Right.
won.
That is pretty impressive. I didn't even realize that, really.
Like that. The fact that he play, and also the fact that Ornn is coming back to be playable again, like, he took that on, and the ability for Someday to take that on and be that tank, like, initiator,
Mm.
meat shield, while he also can take on those carry champions and play the Aatrox and play those other, like the Gwen and those other carry champions. Like, it's 100 Thieves is the most exciting team to me in terms of going into international competition.
Okay.
Like, that is what I got out of watching them this weekend, was that they beat the teams that they're supposed to beat, but they also beat the teams that they're competitive with, and in such a controlled and systematic way that makes me feel like they are currently deserving of that first place position that they're in. Like, they are only one game up on TSM and only a couple games up on some of the other teams. But at the same time, they just look so good and so clean constantly that I really feel like they are the best opportunity for NA to compete in Worlds right now. And that kind of sucks as, like, a Cloud9 fan who, like, Cloud9 has been the only hope of NA, but, like, it also excites me in a sense that I'm like, yeah, I just want to see NA do well in international
Right.
competition. And based on their play style, the way that they are just super confident, controlled, all those things, I'm like, they can potentially compete well in that international scenario.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. And I think what's interesting as like a new organization in the LCS, not necessarily new organization, but like you know what I mean.
100%.
I think what's cool is they have like with Nadeshot at the helm. I don't know like how much he's involved like hands on. But I imagine if they make it to Worlds, he'd probably go with them. And what's
100%.
interesting is like he has experience on a stage like that. So even like as an org owner, like he's somebody that the team can look up to from like a player's perspective. And I actually think that's like quite powerful from an org perspective.
I think
I don't
it's
know.
extremely valuable, and I think it is
Same, yeah.
kind of understated in the value that it has, and like not
Like I said, I don't know how much hands on he is, but like it's cool to know that you'd be playing for a team where the head dog at that team has been in the same position that you're fighting for right now. He's not just like some suit with like money.
right.
I think that's kind of exciting.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
yeah, 100 Thieves has been killing it. The one thing that I thought was interesting about the matchup was it seems like that's going to be 100 Thieves' answer to the Renekton. I don't think
100%.
it was like a counter pick in the pick and ban. I don't know when they picked it, but I think it's a strong matchup into the Renekton, and it allowed Someday to really be that like team fighting tank and not get like neutered in the matchup. So I thought from a pick and ban perspective, that was very interesting, and also just overall, 100 Thieves drafted an incredibly cohesive team comp with the Ornn Thresh synergy, Lee Sin engage, LeBlanc just burst damage, FBI so safe. Yeah, I think they just did a really good draft and drafted around what Liquid was trying to do as well. But yeah,
And
I think
for
you
the
spoke to it.
record, the Ornn was the last pick. It was their
So
counter
yeah,
pick.
so yeah,
They gave
exactly.
the
Even
top
belt,
lane counter pick with that. So
even
even
more.
to boost what you're saying to another extent, like yeah, they were thinking about that.
Which
And
just shows like how much they're willing to put on Someday like as a team. A lot of like you'll hear casters talk about what player like is being given the counter pick when you are on red side. You know, a lot of teams they save it for their mid laner. Some teams will save it for their jungler. But I think it goes to, as they like to say, I think it goes to their priority. Saying, you know, all right, so they got the Renekton. A couple other top laners got banned out, so you know we have the Ornn in the back pocket, and I think Someday played it really, really well. And I think that pick we're gonna see a lot more of it as teams see it as a good response to the Renekton that just won't go the fuck away
well,
in
and
this fucking quadra melee meta that we have.
potentially not even just to the Renekton, but also to these other like top lane bruisers as well. I'm interested to see how that happens going forward because
Yeah, like what does the Someday or what does the Ornn Viego matchup look like?
what
What
does the
does
Ornn
the
Gwen matchup look like?
in
What are
in like
these?
a pro competitive setting?
Right,
Yeah,
absolutely. Like
yeah,
I
yeah.
think
I think
that's
that's fascinating.
super exciting to see because it's a like can you sacrifice that top lane with the Ornn or something like that or a similar type of matchup to extend the ability for your other lanes to get ahead, but like moving into the Sunday matchups, your
Yeah,
matchup was 100 Thieves FlyQuest,
staying on
and
the Thieves train. Yes.
looking at that, you get to see Someday on the Gwen, and you get to see him go 3-1-6. But really, like, Closer is like he's the stud for me right now. I like the man looks good on any jungler, and each 100 Thieves game I look at, I feel like
I feel like they just understand the meta so well.
they do, and I also feel like Closer just is comfortable on whatever they put him on, and it
Right.
doesn't matter what their team comp is going for, whether it's a dive comp, whether it's this, whatever. Like, just he plays out his role to kind of the maximum. Like, right now, I would not be shocked if he ends up being.
I think he's gonna win the MVP. I think he will.
He has to be in contention, if not the front runner for MVP, in my opinion. He looks so good consistently, and that is, especially in the jungle role, so difficult and so impressive to do.
Yeah, because the routes are standardized. Everybody's killing the same creep. So how do you show that skill expression? How do you rise above the sea of just mediocre Lee Sins, right?
Getting paths, fucking
right.
finding those opportunities.
Timing, steals, invades.
He clearly is doing that.
Yeah.
He looks so fucking good.
Well, and that goes to one of the last points that I have about the day is the Drake control. They gave up. I'm pretty sure they gave up the first dragon at the first possible dragon, and then they just took the other 4. And Closer was just on top of it the whole time. I think they got a little bit of a boost. Tomo was really caught out on level 1, so they got a little advantage there. But yeah, 100 Thieves just they just know how to play the game. They're calm, cool, collected. You can tell their comms are clean. And yeah, I just think 100 Thieves is playing very well, and the Silas pick again was great. There were a bunch of good alts to take. The Victor ult, the Lee Sin ult. We saw Abadaga take the Gnar ult and the Thresh ult for crowd control. So we had a lot of good options there.
Yeah, absolutely. It's Abadaga. I really had not super high expectations for him going into the season, because he was kind of, like I said, a middling LEC mid laner, and he just fits so well into this team and into their just what they're doing, and allowing Closer to just be the jungler that is going to lead the team, take advantage of those opportunities. They seem to fit really well together in that aspect.
Yeah,
which is really, really fun to watch. So
we're gonna take a quick little break here, and we'll be right back with Aaron's day 3 game, and we'll finish out the rest of the episode. Be right back. All right, cool, and we're back. Aaron, what was your day 3 game? Let's talk about it.
So my day 3 game was the TSM versus Team Liquid game.
Yes, sir.
So I was looking at this as kind of a top of the table, really competing for those top spots in the spring split and everything. And honestly, I think one of the biggest things that stuck out to me in this game was not only TSM's ability to kind of control the game, but the low kill nature of the game, and kind of the willingness almost to just die by bleeding out from Liquid. It's so frustrating to see teams and I think it's part of the good and bad nature of me being a Cloud9 fan. I love Cloud9 because they're competitive, they fight for everything, and they are typically coming out on top in those things. But sometimes, yeah, they do lose. They lost to Immortals this week. They took team fights that they maybe shouldn't have and ended up losing them and losing the game. But with this, I feel like TSM and Liquid are kind of sitting there on the outskirts and just playing passively, allowing things to happen, not really playing aggressively, and not fighting for opportunities to win, which I think with TSM and Liquid, both TSM being second in the standings right now, and Liquid fifth, just a game back from being tied for third with Cloud9 and EG. One of my big concerns going towards international competition is the fact that these teams are playing so passively and everything. I feel like one of the benefits of Cloud9 and how they play, and it's been indicative of their team for years now, is that they will fight everything and every objective and every team fight, and their goal is that if they win that team fight, then they can push their advantages. But the fact that I'm seeing, and I feel like this is kind of consistent in Liquid and TSM games, is that they're low kills, trying to prioritize objectives. I am 100% for macro play, but it feels like if they get behind, they're just bleeding out and allowing the other team to just slowly gain advantages and not fight them on it to the point that they eventually just lose after a longer time. It's like, yeah, that's great. You didn't lose in 24 minutes. You lost in 42 minutes, but
right.
You still lost. Like, what is... I can't tell.
Well, I think part of it is teams thinking like the scaling is a way to go, or like it's going to be the key later in the game. Like, I can understand that, but sometimes like not every team comp is built like that, and sometimes you're just like playing passive with an early game comp, and that's when it looks pretty bad.
Yeah, and I also feel like right now there are not a ton of team comps that are like scaling enough in the late game that it makes up for early game deficits. Like, it is not as cut and dry as this is a scaling comp, this is an early game comp, this is a global comp, this is a split push comp. Like, these things, I feel like there's not as definitive of a set standard for these team comps as teams are playing it out to be, and that is concerning because there are, like, in this situation, if Team Liquid, they've got Gangplank, Twisted Fate, Varus. Like, those are three champions that have really strong late game in terms of poke, in terms of picks, in terms of the like different abilities. But I don't think that their late game outweighs the late game of TSM's comp. And so TSM's Azir, Aphelios, Leona CC, things like that, those are issues that having just a better late game comp does not surpass. And you have to understand those things earlier on in the game because, yeah, you can play that out and then be like, oh shit, our late game team comp wasn't good enough. But if you can recognize those situations earlier on and be like, oh shit, like, yeah, our late game scaling is good, but it's not going to necessarily be enough that, hey, we get to 90 minutes or whatever in this game and we can win. Like, that's not what any team is looking for. You have to be looking for, especially in this meta, it seems like it is shorter game times. It's 30 minutes or less. You have to really prioritize that mid-game scaling and everything to be able to push these objectives and all. And that's important. You have to really be able to understand your team comp, and I feel like that is an issue with a lot of NA teams other than 100 Thieves right now, honestly. There are no other teams that I look at and I'm like, oh, this team... Actually, Grant, 100 Thieves and FlyQuest Academy are the only two teams that I feel
They
comfortable
take
saying
fights, yeah.
that they look at their team comp and aggressively pursue those team comps to push their advantages. And FlyQuest Academy, their squad that they're using right now, like, they are able to do that a lot. They can't do it every time, but that is not based on lack of initiative and the way that they're pushing those advantages. Is more so just being outclassed in certain positions, which does just happen. Like,
maybe it's actually like a confidence issue. Maybe like the FlyQuest players, maybe they just believe they're better, so they go for the outplay, go for the 60-40, whatever it is.
And if that's the case, fucking keep them as the starting roster indefinitely. Because if they're performing better and they are also like showing that confidence, all fuck it. Like, that's who I want to see. I don't give like veteran status, like all those different things that you look at. It doesn't
really matter, man.
Who's playing better? Who's winning you games? These guys, keep them.
Right.
It's my opinion.
I definitely agree. And yeah, it seems like some teams, some players, some strategies are playing not to win the game, but playing not to lose, in a timely fashion.
Right. And
you don't want that.
Dragging out games will get you a win 1 out of 10 times.
Right.
If you drag out a game and get,
but then you have to play perfectly at 64 minutes, like
1 out of 10 times.
Yeah,
like like if dragging a game out where you're losing only gets you a win 1 out of 10 times, is that a viable strategy? And no, it's not. Like no statistician, no valuable coach, no valuable like person in your coaching staff is going to be like, oh yeah, we went out 1 out of 10, like, yeah, let's go for that. It's not a thing. Like, that's not your goal. So just to say, I feel as though
it was a boring game.
There is an indicative issue in North America. Yes, this game did definitely point it out, but there's an indicative issue in North America where I feel as though we are not pushing our advantages properly, and that is concerning when we're going into international competition. We have 2 weeks left in NaLCS before playoffs. That's it. There's no...
They're not ready.
Yeah. And I am at a point where I'm tired of just looking at, oh, well, maybe one team can, like, upset someone in the Worlds and, like, make it to semis. Like, I want our teams to compete. And, like,
get by on merit, not like a fluke.
I've been watching LCS and League of Legends for 9 years now. I'm sick of North America just being like the kind of younger brother that just gets beat up and they're like, oh, but you're still there, that's not a good feeling. I am hoping that we are able to develop our region into a point, and maybe it's a fool's hope or a fool's errand, but like, I'm tired of just being like content, being like, we made it. Like, I want our teams to compete, and that's why, like, right now, I'm not excited for Cloud9 as a Cloud9 fan. Like, they don't look like they're going to be able to compete properly in international competition. 100 Thieves does look like they're going to be able to compete. Right now, I am excited to see them in international competition. I'm hoping that some of these other teams through playoffs, through these other opportunities, can get up to that standard a little better and will be able to actually do North America proud. Making it to Worlds, we get 3 teams. not a fucking, like, that is
Well,
not a
and that's
gold
guaranteed
star
every time.
That's
yeah.
not a gold star on your resume at this point. You get
Right.
we get 3 teams. If you
Make it
get
out
there,
of groups. Make it into
make it out of groups. Make it out of groups. It's a simple ask in a lot of in most places.
Not for North America, dude. We're the troubled little cousin, man.
Yeah. But
Yeah,
I really genuinely see 100 Thieves as being a potential contender for good international success, but I just need to see more from some of these other teams. TSM and Liquid, watching one team bleed out and the other team not really take advantage of it, and it just be this close match for a while that was just really slow and drawn out, and like one team just eventually wins. That's not fucking good League of Legends. That it's just not. Teams.
No. Well, it's not good. It's not entertaining.
Neither team is losing hard. Neither team is taking advantage of their opportunities. What is enjoyable about that, and what is quality about that? If you're just like, oh, like I let the other team lose, what value do you have in that?
Right. You don't you don't learn much as a team.
Good teams are not just gonna let themselves lose.
Right.
That's just a fact of life. The good teams are going to fight you tooth and nail, and they're going to beat you. You might beat them that 1 out of 10 times. But 9 out of 10,
they win.
Lot more likely.
Yeah, definitely.
So, not to be too much of a downer, but I really am hoping that, especially in the best of 5s in the LCS playoffs coming up for the spring split, I'm really hoping we see some better competition, some better team play, and some good adjustments, because I still do think that the fact that we are working with best of 1s is not extremely valuable in most senses. It is, though, in the group stages, which, for whatever reason, Riot continues to just have as best of 1s. So,
yeah, it's tough with the group stages because they're trying to have like so many fucking teams there.
I agree, and I think it's good that they're having
fucking games.
It would be, but it's just tough because it's so easy to win a fucking single game.
Right. There's more strategies that can win a single game than like the group of strategies that'll win a best of 5.
Right.
So yeah, I don't think North America's prepared for that kind of play yet. Especially with the way the meta is currently, I should say. Like, obviously these teams have like done the whole thing before, but at the point that they're at right now, it's not going that well.
I agree. I think 100T, like, the fact that they are partnering with Gucci and are getting that Italian international experience, I think that is no, I'm just kidding. I don't think that's what's boosting them to success, but like kind of dope for them. And the
Gucci sweatpants, dude, comfortable as fuck to sit on.
I'll be wearing them for the next pot. No, I won't, because that's fucking.
That'd be a lot.
It's above my price tag.
Yeah, that'd be a lot for just sweatpants.
Yeah. But no, I think 100 Thieves is the only team that I feel comfortable with right now. I'm hoping that we can get that will change over the next few weeks. But yeah, that's kind of the LCS right now. I feel like we've got a lot of top teams that are just not quite there. And 100 Thieves is definitely deserving of their spot in the lineup right now.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
So, but Justin,
yes,
leading off into the kind of final segment, we've got your Alayla Flyers deck tech.
Oh, you want to do a deck tech? I don't think we got to do a deck tech. We could save that for an off week.
Save that for next week?
Yeah, I just wanted to comment
Alright.
on the games that we were playing on
Alright,
Monday.
alright. Then let's get into the games. I wasn't sure how far you wanted to go with it. It's going to be a long episode. I hope y'all are enjoying it, but let's get into the games you had then.
Yeah, so we got to play 2 games on Monday. We didn't play any like high power games. We just played some casual decks because Ian has built a couple more. Jason's working on some, and I think Brett has a couple of builds. So all fun stuff. So we were playing some casual games. I got to play I'm saying it Guillaume. I think that's like funner instead of Guillaume. Like Guillaume's pretty boring. I'm saying it Guillaume because I imagine he's a master chef. So I imagine he's
chef.
French. Yeah. I think he's well.
I was thinking like Japanese, like sushi chef.
Does that sound Japanese, Guillaume?
A little bit.
Okay, all right. So then he's a Japanese food guy. So I'm calling him Guillaume. I think that's fun. So he's black green food commander. Bunch of like sacrifice shenanigans, like draining opponents. So that was cool.
Talked about him. You added more cards to that deck with the recent.
I did.
Yes.
I did.
So
we talked Modern Horizons.
Yes, we talked about that a few episodes ago. Adding in some of those cards into your deck.
Yeah. So we got kind of land screwed in the first game, meaning I didn't draw enough lands to like really play. I was able to do some things, but they kind of ran away with it. And then in the second game, I played Intet. So that's green, blue, red. And he's a dragon. His name's Intet the Dreamer. So you pay 3, a green, a blue, and a red for a legendary dragon that's a 6/6 flyer. And he says, whenever Intet deals combat damage to an opponent, you can pay 2 and a blue, look at the top card of your library, or exile the top card of your library with Intet, and then you may cast that card without paying its mana cost. So the idea would be, like, fix the top of your library, like, know what the top card of your deck is, swing with Intet, do damage, pay the cost, and then for 3 mana, you're cheating out like a big 8 mana or like 7 or 9 mana, like just like big, like win the game, do like some big powerful thing. So that's kind of the idea with Intet. So I was playing him. I got to do some of the shenanigans, so that was fun. But like the main thing that I want to comment on, like the main point of conversation is trouble with card interactions, where there were some moments in the game where the players playing the cards didn't understand how they worked. So there was an element of like, I don't know why that's on us, like to help you figure out how your cards work when you have plenty of time pre-prep to learn about these things. You can Google interactions. So I got a little bit frustrated during the game having to figure out this. So when actions are layered on top of each other in Magic, when people are doing things in response to other players' actions, you develop what's known as the stack. So it's first in, first out for the stack, meaning the last thing cast is the first thing that gets resolved, and then you just go all the way down, right? So as people are doing things, this stack gets bigger and bigger.
Right. So if people have instants, if people have different like things
abilities,
like that, it piles on, and so like, if you're the last person playing instant and like no one else plays anything, that's the first thing. You're like, okay, this deals with that, and it could clear out things that were played before, but it might not. So like you deal with that, clear out anything, then you move on to the next thing that's left, right?
Right. That is a perfect explanation of how the stack in Magic works. That is exactly how it works. And so in one of our games, he was playing, just for reference, opponent, I guess he would have been opponent 3, was playing Nevinraw. Commander's name is Nevinraw, where he has like a board wipe ability. When he dies, you can pay 1 to wipe the board. And there were a bunch of things that he was trying to do, like reanimating him and getting him back, blah, 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 blah. The stack got really complicated to the point where we were just like why are we figuring this out for you? Like, these are your cards. So there was a bit of frustration going on there, and the main takeaway after the conversation in the group chat, like after everyone went home, was we just have to play with the Magic judges, like nearby, easy to access, where we can just shoot the question in there, be willing to take the time out in the game, and get the knowledge, because too many times we're just like, well, it probably works like this, fuck it, just keep on moving, and then we just find out later, like, oh, we totally misplayed that.
Yeah.
So I think the onus now, or the intention now with the play group, is we're just going to try and have somebody with the judge app like on their phone ready to go, so if something does come up, we can just ask and get it resolved, because like in so much talking about it and yada yada yada, like we don't know what the fuck's going on, man. Like we don't know all the rule, we don't know how everything works.
It's so hard. There's so many abilities. Like, I mean, I feel pretty comfortable with a lot of the abilities in Magic based on, but like the brief times of you and I playing, like listening to you talk about different cards and their abilities and all from the deck text, like, I feel like generally comfortable with that, with the Commander format. Mm-hmm. However, there are so many different abilities, different interactions, different things like that it's next to impossible to just know off the top of your head. I think that you have to be able to have that there and be able to utilize it to make sure that you are handling everything fairly, equally, properly, and like if you are going to be playing something that you want to consider competitive, if you're just playing as just like let's have fun and like hey, like we'll try and figure it out, and if it's wrong, like that's fine. But like if you're not looking at it that way, then you have to handle it
like properly, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and so even playing casual games, we were still frustrated, just like how does this shit work? And he ended up afterwards going on and asking the judges and how it worked, and he explained it to us. And like, dude,
what do you mean asking the judges? Like, is this a like?
There, you can go to magicjudges.com, and it's like a little chat. It's basically just like a chat room where there's level 1, 2, 3 judges that just hang out and are available in this chat room, and you just type in like, oh hey, I have this interaction, this is on the stack, like how does it work? And then they'll pull up the cards, they'll read it, and they'll say, oh, it works like this. So it's basically just like a chat room access to people who are like qualified Magic judges. It's amazing, actually.
That's kind of sick. Like, yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, and if the resource is there, like, we should fucking use it. Because it turns out, like, we basically, like, took the game away from Jason because none of us understood how the cards worked, and we just, like, misread the triggers and the stack to the degree that he probably actually would have been able to kill the board the next turn, but the way we were interpreting it all was that he fucked the stack up, he didn't understand, and so, like, you know, what do you want us to do?
Yeah.
It was just a really unfortunate scenario. So yeah, I just think if just have the judges on deck for us and anybody out there in a Commander play group.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that's important to be able to like do it properly, because also like once you guys see it done, like that will help you guys be able to better.
And we'll know from now on, and that will apply to probably, I'm sure, 4 or 5 other situations that are going to come up, and we'll be like, oh, well, never all work this way. I'm sure this works that way too. Right. And then we'll be
like,
right.
You can double check yourselves if you need to, but like it's good to have that as a like to utilize that. Resource, yes, exactly.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
and the other thing I wanted to talk about, there has been some evidence coming up online of Amazon having restocking issues with some of their product that they're getting, where they're not like, they don't have any infrastructure to like track the returns for Magic product. So what they're getting is people like buying booster boxes like in bulk, cracking them open and resealing the packs after like taking all the good shit out of it, or just leaving them, you know, just just fucked up in the box, and they send them back saying, "Oh, it was defective or whatever." When in reality, they've already
Amazon's never checking anything, and
right, and then they just like restock and resell them.
don't buy from Amazon.
That's
do we really need Jeff Bezos to travel to space again?
I mean, maybe that's the future of the human race right there, dude. Jeff Bezos, that bald motherfucker on his dick-shaped rocket. The blue dream, dude.
Dick-shaped rocket. His employees are struggling for health care and being able to live based on what he's paying them. But hey, the man went to space. Sorry not to get fucking in the weeds, but
yeah, it was dark, bro. Real
Sorry.
dark. Just saying restocking issues on the Magic Booster Boxes, that's all.
Yeah,
I don't know anything.
Don't buy the Magic Booster Boxes from Amazon. That's
what
I meant. That's what I meant the whole time. Yeah.
This isn't financial advice, but
buy local. Justin talked about it. Buy from your local card distributors.
Oh, dude, it's such a much better experience.
Also, once like things are more normal, I guarantee you that if you have some good contacts with your local distributors, most of them are probably going to have play groups and people that you can connect with for like in-person shit too.
Right.
So if you're looking for like a play group, where's the best place to find a Magic the Gathering play group? The people who fucking sell the cards who are close to you. So.
And why are you so angry about this, man?
I'm upset.
It's just kids trying to find friends.
It's just Jeff Bezos and his bald ass.
Yeah, dude, don't worry about him, dude. It's fine. All right, what's your flavor of the week? I'm excited to talk about mine.
So flavor of the week, I've been on a little bit of a country kick in terms of music. Not country.
Blue jeans.
Folk.
Cold beer.
Folk kick.
Okay.
Which I sent my playlist to Colleen, and she was like, "Oh, like my country playlist." She's like, "I call it MoCo, modern country," right. And I'm like, "Yeah, no, that's not mine." Mine's got like Johnny Cash and a lot of like folk music and like.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's just country music. You don't. You just have a different idea.
No, that's what I call country music, but like
that is country.
The fact,
but so is Luke Bryan.
I guess it's like if you call fucking Jay-Z rap and then you want to call Lil Uzi Vert rap. Yeah, now you're thinking about it.
I mean, but that's fine. Like, I think they can coexist.
They can. It's just you have to, like, you do consider it. And, like, mine's not, I call, like, what she calls modern country or MoCo. I call that pop country. Like, that is, like, the country. Sure. That's the country music they're going to hear on the country music radio.
Yeah, I totally know what you're talking about. I know the artist. I know the song.
Yeah, mine is much more like you'll hear it from your grandpa's record player, or you'll, like, find it from random ways. It's not going to ever be played on the radio, but it's still quality music. So I've been on a little bit of a kick from that. I'm trying to build up a little bit better of and not to shit on anyone who enjoys other music. Like, this is just my style of country that I enjoy. I am not about blue jeans, whiskey, I got my dog by my side. Like, that's not my music.
Yes, it is, dude. That's exactly who you're talking about. It's all the same.
It's not all the same.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
It's not. I like most of the stuff that I like is like storytelling and
give me artist names and 100%. Give me artist names. Who do you like? You said Johnny Cash. He is a country singer.
He is a country singer. Fucking I'm trying to think of who else.
Exposed. Next.
Dude, but I will 100% admit that I'm terrible at like names of songs and artist names.
All right, that's fine.
That's something I've admitted for fucking forever.
There's a documented history of this. You're right. Okay. Absolved. What do they say in the courtroom?
Hey man, I will throw my playlist into the link tree and
nobody wants to hear that shit.
No one does want to hear that shit.
No, they don't.
No one does.
Not even your girlfriend.
Hey, she said she liked it.
Brutal. Anyway, all right. What movie did you watch, dude?
Not a movie. I've been watching Mayor of Easttown HBO series that is about the Delaware County or Delco area, which is very near to where I live.
Right.
So the accents are pretty spot on with how the actors and actresses have played, and also like the filmography and like all those components of it are really solid. Like they do encapsulate a lot of the areas like intricacies and like it's really the shots that they have and everything. I could easily be like, oh, that's just down the road from me. And so it's kind of cool seeing those things and being like, oh, like this is a producer who's looking from an outside perspective, but they nailed it on a lot of different things for our area. And I also enjoy like they just as a kind of one of those touches, they use actual brands of things for the different like brands of like foods and stuff. Like the lady, like when she was getting her popcorn out of the oven, it's Pop Secret. Like it's a real brand, but that also leads itself into they have like they're drinking like Wawa coffee and things like that.
That's dope. That's actually kind of dope. That's like very, very hometown element.
Yeah, like it's cool how regionally specific they are with those things. Like they don't say like Wawa, but you look at the cup and it's the brown cup, and you see the
black lid.
You see the goose on it and everything. The black, like,
that's
and
sick.
You're like, it's pretty cool how you can just relate to that atmosphere just based on those small touches that they put in that like someone from a different area who's just watching it separately would not pick up on. But it's cool as a person, and I can imagine in other films, shows,
there's probably
things
shit like that everywhere. Yeah,
there 100%. There's probably things that people pick up on that they're like out in California, they're like, oh, that's In-N-Out, like that's an In-N-Out burger or whatever, and like, I'm picking up on the Wawa coffee for something that's like Philly area.
Well, if you know, you know, it's fun, and then it's like world building and canon, and it's cool.
Yeah,
I like that.
It's pretty. It's a pretty solid show as well. So definitely in my recommended list right now. So the food for me this week has been this past weekend I was like craving some sort of Asiatic food, and I recently had bought Thai food from a place in Manayunk, so I was like, I'm gonna go and see if I can make my own Penang curry. So I bought all the things, I made it, knocked it out of the park. I had it twice this week because I had leftovers.
That's awesome.
And the only thing I'm disappointed about with it is that it wasn't spicy at all, and I can't.
Gotcha.
And my frustration more comes from I can't figure out what they use to make their Penang curry spicy. Because like I added cayenne pepper, I added sriracha, like I added things to it. And like it still just tasted like plain and sweet because it's like coconut milk and like whatever. but the Penang curry I bought a couple weeks ago like had a little kick to it, and so that's my only frustration. I have to figure out what it is, but it was like really really good. Like I was impressed with. Honestly, I was impressed with myself for the fact that I was able to make it as well as I did for the first time. So that was my food flavor of the week. My homemade Penang curry. Not too shabby.
That sounds banging. My food for the week is actually chicken tiki masala that Sarah's cooking up right now.
Nice.
Yeah, so I'm excited for that. The movie, which I haven't watched it yet, but I'm excited to see it. So we're gonna check out A Quiet Place 2. We really enjoyed the first one, thought it was really sweet. So we're excited to finally see the second one a couple years later now.
I never saw the first one. That might be one
really
I have
good. It's
to
really
watch.
good.
Is that the one with John Krasinski?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he directed it and he was in it.
I might have to check that out.
Yeah, it's super good. Really good, actually. So yeah, excited to watch that. And then I was also recommended a baseball movie by a client that I don't want to watch it at all. So I'm pretty sure I'm just gonna get like the synopsis, make a couple
what movie?
It's called A League of Their Own, about like the start of the female baseball league or whatever. And I watched the trailer for it. I was like, dude, no.
Yeah, I have not watched it. I haven't heard bad things, but also you're not like a huge sports movie person.
Dude, I could give a fuck about baseball specifically. Like, I find basketball engaging. I like hockey. You might even fuck around and catch me watching a football game. I hate fucking baseball though.
Yeah, like
especially fucking also, women's baseball.
There's also a difference between watching like sports like actively or like watching a sports movie.
Right, because that means like I give a shit about like the lore and some of the traditions and like
I don't see you
a baseball mitt. I could give a fuck.
Yeah, like maybe I'm sure you've probably seen fucking Remember the Titans, but like I don't expect you to be like going out and just like watching like football sports movies or anything like that.
No, like a 30 for 30 on ESPN.
Yeah. So A League of Their Own.
But even like, Remember the Titans, like I kind of identify with that, like small town football obsession. Like there's things that like even not like it resonates with me, but fucking women's baseball, And that's not even like the shit on women. Like, hey, play baseball. I don't care. I'm just saying, like,
don't care about baseball. Let
alone like the start of the women's league. Like, that's pretty niche history. Like, let's be honest.
I would say so. Yeah.
I just say this to say that, like, hey, sorry, but I'm not watching that fucking movie. But I am gonna lie my ass off tomorrow and come up with a solid opinion.
hit that fucking Wikipedia and.
You know it.
Read a couple paragraphs. Be like, oh yeah, what's her face playing?
I just have to be able to comment on like 2 scenes and like an actress, and then we out. You're good. So yeah, fuck that shit. Fuck baseball.
I played baseball for 10 years.
It's all dumb. Anyway.
No, I kind of agree, but the fact I just think it's funny that I played baseball for a long time. You're like, fuck baseball. I'm with you,
dude. Literally, I could meet Derek Jeter tomorrow, and I would say, "Hey, nice lapel. Fuck baseball,
bro." I played baseball for 10 years, and I don't want to watch it sitting at home. Like I only want to watch it if I'm like in person getting drunk.
Exactly. So, whatever.
Yeah.
But the music that I was listening to, I just recently put on Liquid Swords by the Jizza, the genius from the Wu-Tang Clan.
Yep.
I have it on vinyl, and I was listening to... Yeah, it's great.
It's a phenomenal album. I enjoy that. Like, I had never heard it before you had talked about it.
So fucking good.
Like also the not intros,
The interludes. Those are my favorite part. Those
They
are my
are
absolute favorite part of it.
Fitting and so good throughout that album. About it.
Yeah, where she's like, she wakes up screaming and
My
she's like,
father was a samurai.
oh my god, isn't that kid just the creepiest, dude?
So creepy. It's so, I love it.
So yeah, Liquid Swords from Jizz of the Genius. If you haven't heard it, check it out.
Oh, 100% check it out. That is a great piece of just like hip hop and rap history. 100%.
Yeah, shout out the Wu-Tang Clan. Wu-Tang Clan can't fuck with us. But yeah, that's been my flavor of the week.
Nice.
Anything else, Aaron? Anything else you want to get into?
I don't think so. We've knocked out a lot of stuff. It's a long episode. Just to say we appreciate you all watching. I do apologize for us not having some more content for the race this past weekend, but we're looking forward to doing some more going forward. That was my bad, and I'm excited about some more stuff in the future. We've got lots of races left, so hoping to get some more good race content in for F1. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us on anywhere you find podcasts, Spotify, Google, Anchor, anything like that. Of course, we are on Twitter at TallandShort, the number 1. And Justin, last couple bits before we go out.
I would just say thank you to everyone listening. Hit the like, hit the subscribe if this was something you enjoyed. Usually the episodes aren't this long, but hey, if you're here for it, that's cool too. This has been another episode of the Tall and Short of It podcast. Peace out, everyone.
Later, guys.